Good afternoon, my name is Michael J. Bolton and I'm joining the throngs, that's the one, I think, throngs of people putting videos on YouTube and saying check me out, or check me out. So Michael J. Bolton, the thrust of this video is to demonstrate kind of this bass to an extent, but mostly this EMG stuff that I've put in it. I do like EMG stuff, it's cool. Okay, so this is a 1990s bass collection SB335, I do believe, kind of mid-range bass collection guitar from that period. It's immaculate. Immaculate. I got it from Bass Direct quite recently. I like the pickups and the preamp that was in it. It was active passive and it was cool, you know. But I wanted something a bit more hi-fi, or potentially hi-fi. So I put some EMGs in it. So here we have two EMG 40 DC, so those are dual coil pickups. Each pickup, it's got two coils wired in parallel. Okay, so they're wired in parallel, so that gives you that kind of hi-fi sound, if you like. If you wire a humbucker in series, it tends to get very bassy, middly, lacking in top end. If you wire them in parallel, it's a bit like two single coils, really. You know, that's pretty much it. You know, jazz bass is two single coil pickups wired in parallel, so when you got the two together, you get that classic jazz bass sound, which is, you know, a nice, clear, hi-fi kind of sound. So that does that within each pickup. Okay, and then we've got some more EMG bits. We've got the active balance control, which is a buffered balance control, so it's continuously variable, unlike a passive balance control, which tends to be just the bridge pickup, and then as you move, you get that, you know, the two pickups 50-50 or thereabouts, and then you just get the neck pickup. Here you get this continuous kind of blend of the two as you move, and I'll try and demonstrate that. I've got to keep an eye on the audio because it keeps dropping out. It's driving me crazy. Anyway, so that's the active balance control. So the pickups are buffered, they don't see each other as such, so they don't interact, which is why you can do that blend, which is more subtle than the average balance control. I mean, the average balance control, really, you might as well have a pickup selector, really, I think. But anyway, up to a point. Then it goes into the bass and treble, cut and boost. Bass is centered around 20 Hz, which is really low. It's quite subtle, but we'll come on to that. Then you've got the treble control, and then you can select the frequency that affects, or frequencies that it affects, using two little dip switches. I've got it so it's like a bright, really. That's what I've gone for. You should hear that later on. Then it goes into the active volume, or the volume. It's not an active volume. It's a 20K low impedance volume control, and then I've got a regular 20K treble bleed tone control. Because even if you've got enough holes in your bass, enough room, you can use an active bass and treble and still use a regular tone control. For these EMGs it has to be 20K low impedance. Regular bass would be 250K or 500K. So, it's all in there. I've got it connected to two 9-volt batteries wired in series. So that's recommended by EMG, especially if you've got the active EQ and you're boosting it. That's going to draw more current. It's also, the pickups sound a bit more dynamic that way too. There's a bit more headroom. Bearing in mind that the pickups, they both draw current. The active balance control draws current. The bass and the treble draw current. So there's quite a lot of current being drawn now. Okay, enough of this. So let's just hear both pickups 50-50, no EQ, no tone control, none of that. Everything's flat. The amp is flat. I'm just doing a DI into the computer and praying this time it doesn't fall over. So anyway. So as you can hear, the pickups, these EMG pickups, are actually quite middly. You know, I think there's a perception that they're scooped and hi-fi. And of course you can do that with the EQ either on the bass or on the amp. But the actual sound of these pickups there's plenty of mid-range there, so that's the kind of natural sound, if you like. So let's just play around with this balance control. So if I go all the way to this pickup, the bridge pickup, notice it's very close to the bridge, this coil in particular, so that's going to make it sound quite nasal and quite thin, which I find on this bass. A Fender Jazz bass pickup, 70s one would be about there, 60s one would be pretty much slightly ahead of that second coil. So it's not quite so nasal and thin. Again, it's very middly. You know, a lot of people would not associate that sound with an active bass, or especially an EMG. I mean, I really like the one fretless, but I'll do another video for that. Now, just to get rid of that honk, that nasal honk a little bit, I just move the active balance control about quite a bit. Hear that? You can just hear it picks up some bass from the front pickup. So if I was going to use that sound, say I was doing a jazz gig or a fusion thing or something, I might do that. Just went back a little bit. It's very subtle, you know, that's the thing about it. You can hear it doing something. It's easier for me because I'm right next to the amp. If you're listening on an iPhone, or, you know, you haven't got decent speakers or headphones in, it's going to be harder to hear the difference. That kind of thing, you know. You're playing over the neck a little more. You know, that would be a good sound for that. Okay, let's move on as we go towards so that's another kind of, you know, discernible change in the sound. Still slightly biased towards the bridge pickup. That's a bit like a PJ kind of sound, really, I think. You know, that kind of Nathan East kind of tone. Like that. And then a little bit more. And we're right in the middle. So that's a tiny little bit away from the center. I'll try and play less notes so you can listen to the sound. Like that PJ sound. Yeah, that's a nice sound. It cuts through, you know. So it's got a lot of middle. And then into the middle. It's almost like a jazz bass. It's getting into that kind of thing. Yeah, nice. This is just the balance control, nothing to do with the EQ or any of that stuff. I keep looking over there, it's because the computer keeps falling over. Neck pickup. Straight away, hear that it's biased now towards the neck pickup. Nice sound. It's got beef. You know, I'm playing with the thumb. There's plenty of body there. You know. Anyway, I better move on because people get bored these days. They always have. It's just more to get bored with these days. Right, I'm heading towards the neck pickup a bit more. I quite like that because that's like mostly neck pickup. But there's a bit of bridge still in there which just kind of smooths it out a little bit. So if I carry on, now I'm all the way to the P. I think most people would be happy with that as a P-bass kind of sound. Let's use the tone control. Passive tone. Hear that? So I've just taken off the very top and some of the mids go with it. That's the nature of tone control. You know, both pick up. Slightly towards the P. All of the P. In between. Just the bridge. It's quite rude, isn't it? Just mitigate that, sorry. Reduce that a little bit. Just make sure you can see the knob. The black one is the balance. It's got a little mark on it. Bit of tone, yeah? You can roll the tone all the way off if you want to. Neck position. You know, in a mix, nobody would ever go, oh, it's an active bass, just get out. They wouldn't do that. They won't be able to tell. So we're still on the neck pickup, bit of bass boost. You can really hear that. Yeah, that's nice. Go towards the center position a bit. I mean, that's a big sound. Center position. Remember, this is bass boost. Now let's add some of that. Right treble. So if anything, there's a bit too much compression on that. I'll just turn it off. Watching my levels. I've got a multitask here. So I've got the treble setting on this preamp. You've got two little dip switches, and you can select where the treble frequencies kick in. I've gone for like a bright switch, really. So sometimes I like to be able to have it really bright. So this is flat with a bit of bass boost. So obviously if you boost the bass, the treble is less obvious. It gets masked by the bass boost. The treble. That's nice. So yeah, when the treble is set like that, yeah, having a tone control and a treble cut and boost is really useful. Get it on like basses which are active passive, you know, like the Marcus Miller basses have all got a passive tone control, which is actually in the circuit all the time. So a treble cut and boost active is different to a tone control. Sonically, you know, it's a big difference. So just to recap, active balance control, EMG, bass cut and boost, treble cut and boost with selectable frequencies, volume, passive tone. It's a very versatile bass. That's your typical active sound, or the perception of an active sound, bright. I think it's probably time for me to stop. You should be bored by now. Treble boost may be useful for a collection player. finish, the amplifier is a Ampeg PF500. It's nice, really, really nice amp. You can turn it right up and it doesn't distort or give up. There's quite a lot of gain at the end of the master volume, which is always good. A lot of digital amps. And kind of, oh, it's already on full. Well, this one has got some, it's got some headroom. This is a Hartkey high drive 112. The tweeter's attenuated at the moment. It's not off, it's sort of in the minus 6 dBi is. Brilliant. You can really drive that thing, and it's good. Most gigs, that's all I use. For a louder gig, or if I want a bit more booty, I get the old 15-inch underneath. I got an old Trace Elliott cab with an Ashdown Blue Line 300 watt driver in it, and that sounds really good. Together, it's a massive sound, and not a particularly big rig. So yeah, that's good stuff. The Hartkey stuff, the Ampeg, the Ashdown. I like the old Trace Elliott stuff because it's basically bomb-proof. I'm not a massive fan of this light stuff. I won't mention any brand names, you know. Oh, it's really light. Yeah, yeah, it sounds light. You know, that's my opinion. It sounds light, and if you turn it right up, the back might blow off the speaker cabinet, and I have heard of that happening. I don't want that. This thing isn't particularly heavy. You know, my answer. I'm 56, right? I'm not a young guy. If it's too heavy, work out. Yeah, do some exercise, do some sit-ups, lift some weights, you know. Man up already. Yeah, this isn't particularly heavy. The Trace Elliott's quite heavy. Well, there is a thing called a wheel, you know. Try that, or try 4 of them. Anyway, my name is Michael J. Bolton. Here's my little video about the Bass Collection 5-string from Bass Direct. Great people to deal with. And EMG Pickups and Electronics. Big fan. No noise, no hum. No messing about. And also when you turn the volume down, you don't lose the top end or anything like that. It's the same at every volume. So anyway, yeah, okay. Peace out. See you on the next one. Check out my album Earthrise, Jazz Fusion for the 21st Century. Cheers.